Welcome in everyone to GDT Live presented by DraftKings. I am your host, Colton Davies, and today we have one half of Morning Cup of Hockey, Jonny Lazarus, joining us to discuss the New York Rangers start to the season, not being able to score at home. Laz and I are going to go over number of things in New York. Willie in the chat, I can't score at home. That's a good comment. If you saw the thumbnail for today made by Dayton, it's a good one. Let's just start with some news around going on. In the personal world here of mine, I will be joining Draft Pro Hockey, a new startup by the prospect Don. He recently took over the company and has been filling out the content creator and scouting positions. Don Anthony is obviously his real name is the prospect Don. Yeah, we had a great chat yesterday on the show. We ended up talking for about an hour after the show, and we decided it would be best for the both of us if I joined Draft Pro Hockey and got going as a WHL content creator. So while you do see a lot of WHL stuff here, we are trying to transition Game Day Tarps into like a lot of NHL stuff, but kind of staying away from the CHL stuff and doing its own separate entity. So we're kind of starting up some new stuff here at Game Day Tarps as well. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to join Don and this fantastic team that's going to be built out over the next little bit here. You'll see plenty of announcements of people joining and what's going to go on over at Draft Pro Hockey. I'll be doing lots of WHL interviews, talking with prospects that are already drafted into the NHL, talking with 2026 eligible prospects, 2027 eligible prospects. We'll kind of go over all that. I'm going to be doing a weekly WHL rankings, just like a power rankings for the teams, as well as going over, like who's kind of doing good and what's kind of going on there. So there'll be a lot going on over at Draft Pro Hockey. So you guys can go give that a check on Twitter, as that is where we are located. So looking forward to that. Prospect Don will be making an appearance bi-weekly here now as well. So every 2 weeks we will have Anthony aboard to chat about the NHL prospects and what's kind of going on around the prospect world. NHL news. I don't really want to touch this with a 10-foot pole, but Carter Hart is back in the NHL with Vegas. I don't got a lot to say to that. Great junior goaltender. Loved him when he was with Everett, but I don't have a lot to say on that topic right now. Just kind of let that one slide. Cam Atkinson announced his retirement. I thought that Cam's a great guy, somebody that I'm a short person as well, so we always got to look out for our short kings. And I was a big fan of Cam Atkinson as I watched him throughout the years. And shout out to him, played over 800 NHL games. So great career for him. I saw an article yesterday from Daily Faceoff about should the NHL expand to 36 teams? I'm going to say no. That's just me, but I don't really want to see that many teams in the NHL. I think it depletes the talent pool completely, but what do I know? I know nothing from what I've gathered. So take what I say with a grain of salt, but I just don't know if I really want 36 NHL teams. Like I get Atlanta wants back in, I get Houston deserves a team, Quebec City, etc. But like where are you going to put these other teams? Like somebody said Indianapolis, is that a thing? Are we going to have a Pat McAfee hockey team there? Because we know Pat will be all over that one. But, like some other Canadian cities that I saw people tossing around, like Saskatoon, Hamilton, Halifax. The thing with Saskatoon is, like, I don't know if Saskatchewan has the money to do something like that. Like that's like $1 billion investment that the province would have to make into getting an NHL team there. And from what I've heard, I don't think Winnipeg sells out a lot of their games. I could be completely wrong, but so if Winnipeg kind of struggles a little bit to get guys to get people, sorry, to go to games, I don't know how Saskatoon would do with a full NHL team. But Halifax, I feel like that's a no brainer, right? Like you've had the World Juniors there, the success of the Mooseheads. It just Halifax seems like a no-brainer if you're going to expand to like a more yeah, just a different place, like out of the the normal ones that are talked about among everybody. Let me know what you guys think though. You guys can comment down below as well. Leave a comment about some, I don't know, expansion cities you want to see, because at this rate, it's we're going to see another expansion here very soon. It seems like. Um, just some other NHL news quickly as we kind of just go through this stuff here before we get to our interview with Jonny Lazarus. Brock Besser, Thatcher Demko, and Lane Hudson were added to the U.S. men's Olympic preliminary roster. All three weren't added at the summer roster, so they're added now. If I read that correctly, so that's awesome. I'm a big Brock Besser fan. Obviously, love Lane Hudson out in Montreal, and Thatcher Demko is a goalie that I really like. Um, Demko and I are around the same age. He's a guy that I've watched through many years. So cool to see him kind of getting it back together and getting an invite to this. I'm sure Big Willie Styles in the chat, our American correspondent, would have a better touch on the Olympic team there. But cool to see Besser, Demko, and Hudson get invites. I'm excited to see what Hudson can do. I think Lane Hudson at the Olympics would be an absolute highlight reel show, but we'll have to see. Big Willie in the chat saying Milwaukee as a team for an NHL expansion. Yeah, there you go. That would be a good one. They already have the Admirals, so you could just advance into another team there. I think the Admirals have like a great success as well. Like they've got a good fan base there. I know the Wisconsin Badgers have good success for their college hockey program as well. So, nah, that's not a bad place. Um, some CHL news as we just kind of hit this off. I got to talk about it. Um, the Kamloops Blazers, man. They were down 5-1 last night, came back and stormed back to win 7-5. What a game. Uh, Tommy Lafrenière, Edmonton Oilers prospect, third round pick by them, 2 goals and an assist. Lafrenière has been very dominant this season already, off to a hot start playing with JP Hurlburt. It's great to see Lafrenière just kind of mix it up and, be able to toss in some points. Whether it's goals or assists, Laffy is always on the scoreboard, it seems. So shout out to him. Josh Evans-Chesson scored his first 2 WHL goals, so big shout out to him. He was a free agent who came into the Blazers organization this year, part of the NCAA CHL rule change, and Evans-Chesson came up to Kamloops, earned himself a spot, kicked a player off the roster, and lo and behold, he's got his first 2 goals. He's been an absolute behemoth on the assists lately. So shout out to the Blazers. Always going to give them love. As you guys know, I mention it every time here. I work for them. So always got to gas them up. JP Hurlburt, 2 points again, 22 points in 9 games. Kid's unstoppable. Well, we even had we got the arm dog bump on game notes the other day as well. Colby Armstrong, a friend of the show, of course, shouted myself and Game Day Tarps out on game notes, talking about JP Hurlburt. As of course everybody knows, I'm all over Hurlburt, so I'm not the first one to discover him, but I'm pushing him as much as I can right now. So gotta love that. CHL USA top prospects coaches were announced. And speaking of JP, I feel like I feel like JP is a guy that could end up on the CHL team and play his former U.S. national team development program. So I think that'd be a cool storyline. But Willie Desjardins of the Medicine Hat Tigers, Jay McKee, former NHLer of the Brantford Bulldogs, and Sylvain Favreau of the Drummondville Voltigeurs, all named as coaches. The CHL USA Top Prospects game goes on next month. I do believe it's November 25th and 26th in Calgary. That'll be a great game. I will be there. So if anybody from the chat, anybody going out there, DM me on Twitter. We can link up. But I will be there for that, of course. Can't miss that one. That should be a great one. It'll be cool to see what the U.S. program can bring to the table. Last year's CHL U.S. Prospects game, I believe the CHL won both games. So we'll see what's in store this year. I believe Darren Drager of TSN tweeted out that the rosters for this event will be announced next week as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. I will probably break that down actually here on GDT Live and on Draft Pro Hockey. So you can stay tuned for that. Willie in the chat, every time you mention Blazers, I'm going to take a drink. Yeah, honestly, you may as well, man. Like, this is like Laz with the Rangers. Like I'm such a homer for this team, so you may as well turn it into a game show. Before we get to Laz, just got to give a quick word from our sponsor. We can't do this show without DraftKings, of course. Hockey is back, and this season, DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It brings you all the speed, skill, and nonstop action you love. New customers bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get paid out $300 in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-78-97-777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas, 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Fees may apply in Illinois. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos. NFL Sunday ticket offer for new subscribers only and auto renews until canceled. Digital games and commercial use excluded. Restrictions apply. Apply NFL Sunday ticket terms at youtube.com/go/NFL Sunday ticket/terms. Limited time offer.
Thank you to DraftKings for sponsoring us for the 2025-26 NHL season. Jonny Lazarus is coming aboard, and Johnny and I talk all things New York Rangers this morning. It was great to have him on. I apologize, Willie. This is not a live interview with Johnny, so you will not be able to get your chirps in, but we will be having Johnny aboard a little more frequently going forward as well. I'm going to be trying to get him on like once a month, kind of to give us just a breakdown of what's going on in the Big Apple. So without further ado, we welcome Jonny Lazarus to the show and enjoy the interview. By one half of Morning Cup of Hockey, and that is Jonny Lazarus. And Johnny covers the New York Rangers for Daily Faceoff. I'm sure everybody knows Johnny by now. One of the best follows out there in the New York region. Johnny, things aren't going as maybe as well as you or people in New York have hoped, but what are kind of the vibes around the Big Apple right now?
I actually don't think there's any concerns. And actually, first of all, Colton, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. But from the outside looking in, like, the numbers look bad. The box scores look bad. Obviously the stats don't look great. But when you watch the game, and granted, I've watched 4 full out of the 5 games. I missed 1. But I like what I'm seeing. The Rangers are doing a much better job defending. There aren't many odd man rushes against. There aren't many loud, high danger chances against. The only issue is the pucks aren't going in on the other end. But Mika Zibanejad's looked really good. Will Cooley hasn't looked as great as he was at the start of last year, but he's getting there. I think Panarin's been not as much himself, but the fourth line of Edstrom, Carrick, and Rempe, they've been very consistent as well. So the Rangers' fourth line is certainly forming an identity, one that got started last year that a lot of fans felt could be impactful. So to see like Matt Rempe and Adam Edstrom like getting reps, especially late in the third period when the team's down by 1 goal, that could be looked at as a negative in some sorts, because your fourth line out there when you're down by 1 says that your top guys aren't finding a way to finish, right? So you need to come from the guys who are playing well. And that actually is something that I give Mike Sullivan a lot of credit for. Like Peter Laviolette, in the past couple of years, if the Rangers were down looking for offense, he'd probably shorten the bench and wouldn't give those guys some looks. But knowing how well they were playing, especially the other night, at home against Edmonton, where the fourth line, Sam Carrick, was probably the best offensive player in the game, Mike Sullivan had him out there. He's going to play the guys who are playing the best, and not every coach is willing to do that. So it's not as much of a disaster as I think people are saying it is. That said, it's still not good.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it too. I think the outside noise is definitely louder than what it is around New York. But looking at Mike Sullivan, like you kind of hit on him a little bit already. What have you made of his first handful of games here in New York, and how different of a coach is he compared to Laviolette?
I think he takes a lot of. It's hard to necessarily say this with 100% guarantee behind it, but I think he seems to be more in tune with the analytics side. Putting certain guys that probably fit statistically, where I don't know if the previous coaching staff, obviously they have an analytics department, and I'm sure they use it and whatnot, but I don't know if in game they were making as many switches as Sullivan is. One of the adjustments he made the other night in the third period was shortening the bench on the defensive side, and people probably thought Vakanainen was getting benched, but he had certain matchups on the D pairs, like Robertson and Fox were out there together at certain times. Schneider was moved to the left side with Borgen a little bit, just to play certain matchups. Vakanainen saw 2 shifts in the third, so it's not like he was totally benched. He still got out there and was out there in the last 10 minutes as well. But those are little tactical things that Sullivan's doing when the team isn't only just looking for offense. Like last year, we'd see Fox and Miller get paired together when the team was down a goal and needed a goal, because Peter Laviolette felt that was the best pairing that can, provide a spark offensively. But through the first 5 games, we're seeing Mike Sullivan mix and match some things, but he hasn't really changed the forward lines around that much. But it seems like there's more of a stance on analytics, I guess would be the way to put it.
He's known quite a bit for accountability. Have you kind of sensed that he's brought that into the Rangers locker room?
There's nothing that's necessarily had to be punishable yet, I think.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not like he's had to sit a guy or scratch a guy or bench a guy or, call a guy down, send a guy down to Hartford. Because again, outside of the home opener, they've played pretty good, even though the results don't show it. They've done everything but score. So I don't think there's had to be a chance yet where he's had to hold a guy accountable, at least in a negative way. But I'd say playing the fourth line late in the third period the other night is keeping guys in check on a positive. It's holding guys accountable on a positive, right? You'd rarely see the fourth line really. It's funny. I forgot who asked the question. It might have been Vince Mercogliano, but I'm not sure who fully asked it. But Mike Sullivan was asked about the play of the fourth line, and he said, "Which line are you referring to?" Because the fourth line technically, I think, saw more ice than the Laba line of Laba, Sheary, and Laba, Radish, and Bardzinski that night. So I guess that's one area specifically where he's held guys accountable in a positive way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and no, it does for sure. And it's, the fourth line, those are important to teams nowadays, right? You can look at some of the championship winning teams over the past handful of years, and those third and fourth lines are crucial to them. And New York having a stepping stone with a fourth line that can actually go out there and do something does wonders for them, right? Late in the game, like you mentioned. What about on the flip side, the superstars or star players in that sense with Panarin, Fox, Zibanejad? How do you sense that Sullivan's handled them?
Listen, I think Adam Fox has been really good. He's been strong with Vladislav Gavrikov in the back end. Obviously, the power play has gotten a lot of reps, but hasn't been able to capitalize on most of them. They only scored 2 goals in that game against Pittsburgh. I think they're at 14% right now, so their power play has really struggled. But as far as like handing out ice time goes, I think he's done a pretty solid job at keeping the best guys on the ice when you need them. I think like Lafrenière, Panarin, Miller, those guys are getting around like 22 minutes a night. So, that's exactly what you'd want. You don't want to burn guys out and play them, 25, 26 minutes, but Foxy's getting like, I think north of 23 in the back end. So, there's been a good share of ice time, especially like I said before, he's giving the ice time to the guys who are going out there and playing well. It's not just based on reputation or whatnot. I also should have mentioned Mika's advantage. I think Mika's been the best forward so far for the team for the first 5 games. But, I think that's something that, shows that even when the guys aren't scoring, he's still going to have them out there in the critical moments. Like, the Rangers hadn't scored a goal on home ice in what's 8 periods, and the last 2 minutes, I was trying to do quick math there. And the last 2 minutes, he's got the top guys, Panarin, Miller, Zibanejad, Fox. I think Lafrenière was out there in the 5-on-6, even though those guys haven't been able to score. So he still gave them that chance. He's not like taking that away from them. Which any other coach, I mean, who knows? Maybe you throw Sam Carrick out there and put him out. He was playing the best. So, I don't know. There hasn't been many decisions so far from Mike Sullivan where I've been like, why did he do that? Maybe pulling the goalie in the home opener a little bit early, but that's really it.
Speaking of goalies, Shesterkin off to a good start so far. Picked up I think it was his 22nd shutout of his career the other night against Buffalo. What do you make of Igor? You mentioned something on Twitter that I agree with 100%. You said that Igor is the guy to lead this team into playoffs and into a Stanley Cup final. Why don't you just expand on that a little bit? Because I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I think, listen, some people would say it's a problem if your goalie is your best player, most important player in the playoffs, but it's the most important position in the playoffs. Colby and I have talked about it too. Like, as good as Stuart Skinner's been, I don't want to take any credit away from Stuart Skinner. That game 7 comes down to a shot from above the circles by Sam Reinhart, right? It's one shot that, and Igor Shesterkin's probably saving 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 times. Where a guy like Stuart Skinner's probably saving it 9 out of 10 times. And that was the one time it went in. And for me, like goaltending, it's something that the Rangers have always had, and I don't know anything different. Like the Rangers have never really, in my lifetime at least, they've never really struggled in the net. So maybe I'm just a little spoiled in that sense. But for Igor and for the Rangers, it's been clear that when he's on his game, he can take them as far as they're capable of going. And Panarin, when he's on his game, like it's not, it doesn't calculate as much in the playoffs. If that's what I'm trying to say here. I'm rambling a little bit in my head right now. I don't know if it's coming out correctly, but
you're good.
Point being, I know the point I was making, the Barkovs, the McKinnons, the Kucherovs, those are the guys that carry their teams to the playoffs, and those guys are hard to find for sure. But even Barkov had Bobrovsky back there. Even Kucherov had Vasilevsky back there. And Panarin, like, he's not on the level of those two guys. Like, he's an elite player, but he's not I'm hesitant to call him a superstar. I am. I think superstars are like the top, 7 players in the NHL.
The cream of the crop, right?
Cream of the crop. Exactly. And make your point. Yeah, because I'm talking too much.
No, you're good. I agree with that. Like Panarin, I don't think I'd put him in that superstar category like anymore.
He's right below it though. He's like flirting with it.
Yes, absolutely he is. JT Miller was named captain. Obviously that's a good move. I liked Miller when he was with Vancouver. I never really bought into any of the bullshit that was going on outside the locker room there. What do you make of Miller bringing a new identity to this team, I guess, in a sense, with being captain?
I think the things he said the other night was perfectly put. That's why he's wearing the C. He said, let's not make this a bigger deal than what it is. Like JT understands, like there are bigger things than, just being shut out for the 3rd game in a row at home. Like obviously it sucks, but it's game 5, So I love that he came out and said that. That said, I think he also has a lot to prove for the first time wearing the C. Like, I don't know if he's, I know he's worn an A in previous years, other places, but I don't know if he's ever been the captain of like a team in his like adult life, whether it was in juniors or whatnot. So, I think he's learning more about himself as well as a leader. I think he's always been a little bit of a leader without that C on his chest, but now it's his team. And, I think they're going to work with him in that. I don't think it's just give this guy the C and let him do whatever he wants without any guidance or without any help. I think everyone is there to, be there for him too. And when he got here, there was a certain change in attitude and you can feel it. And in the first 5 games, there's definitely a different sense of pride that the Rangers are playing with despite the lack of wins and goals.
Yeah. With Chris Kreider gone, do you sense like there's been a change in the leadership in the locker room, like dramatically in that sense?
Not dramatically, no. I think having Chris Kreider, certainly hurts just because Kreider, outside of last year was always a guy who can come up in a clutch moment and score a big goal. Like that's kind of what he was known for here. It felt like every big playoff moment the Rangers have had in my lifetime, Kreider was a part of it. So, that sucks. But I don't know if he's necessarily the loudest guy. Obviously, we could say we're in the room in the post game doing interviews, but we're not in the room when there's 22 guys in there and, they're trying to get fired up for the third period. Like we don't know what that's like. So, I'm not going to sit here and say like, Kreider's absence is big, Kreider's absence is small. Like I genuinely don't know what the guys would say about it. But, obviously the team needed to go in a different direction. And I think there are a lot of older players, especially up front. And I think there needs to be a, reinvigoration of some youth. And, I think it was just time. It's unfortunate, but I'm happy to see him doing well in Anaheim.
Yeah, it's great to see him popping off over there. He looks good in orange. Noah Laba, someone you were high on. I learned about him through you as well. An excellent young player. What have you made of his first few games in the NHL?
The last game was probably his quietest, but I will say what I love about him most is his ability to move. This guy from goal line to goal line, the way he carries the puck through the neutral zone, I think that's something he needs to work on too, because he's lost the puck, from time to time in the neutral zone, trying to make a play, trying to dump it in. And that's just early nerves, I think. It's 5 games into his career. But I think, he'll continue to learn, and his brain is certainly there. The way he thinks the game, I think, is, pretty smart, especially on the defensive side. In the preseason, I saw him go one-on-one with Matt Barzal a couple of times, and, he defended him pretty well, tough guy to defend. There were a couple of shifts against Crosby where he looked pretty good in the defensive zone. But, with Laba, I think his size, his strength, that's really, what helps this team, because they need to get faster and they need to get younger. So hopefully as he continues to learn and grow, he'll become, a really strong shutdown third line center that can also provide offense when given the opportunity.
And on the flip side, Perreault starts down in Hartford. Was that a surprise to you?
Sorry, you lagged there for a second. What did you say?
Gabe Perreault. He started the year in Hartford. Was that a surprise to you?
No, not at all. I think the difference with a guy like Gabe and a guy like Laba is that there was a hole, in the Rangers lineup that Laba could fill. And in the top 6, there's not necessarily a hole for Gabe to fill. I think they want him to learn and grow down in Hartford, get the touches, get the reps as opportunity.
And on the flip side, Perreault starts down in Hartford. Was that a surprise to you?
Sorry, you lagged there for a second. What did you say?
Gabe Perreault. He started the year in Hartford. Was that a surprise to you?
No, not at all. I think the difference with a guy like Gabe and a guy like Laba is that there was a hole, in the Rangers lineup that Laba could fill. And in the top 6, there's not necessarily a hole for Gabe to fill. I think they want him to learn and grow down in Hartford, get the touches, get the reps as a top line player, as a top line power play player. And then when he comes in, he's comfortable and feels in the game by being in the top 6. Gabe being on the third line, I think a guy like him, sometimes it'd be tough to get in rhythm when you're not getting, north of 13 minutes of ice, any, power play looks, because the Rangers top unit usually stays out for like a minute and a half. So for him to really go down there and, adjust to the pro schedule, adjust to the pro lifestyle, and truly get the, top 6 shine or top line shine that he deserves, I think that's going to pay off dividends for him when he gets up to the NHL.
Who's impressed you early on? And you touched on Zibanejad being one of the best players. Anybody else?
I'd surprise. I actually say Matt Rempe. The first 5 games, he's been pretty under control. He's, getting some power play time. He's making plays. He's like really providing some good looks and good opportunities for his line, and sparking some energy through the bench. Like, I think Matt Rempe in the past has been looked at as like a gimmick, and he's showing that he is like truly a hockey player and truly belongs in the NHL. So I've always believed in it with him. I've been Team Rempe since day one. I said, like, when you're in the Garden and that guy is on the ice, like, there's a different energy. But now he's, showing his skills or showing what he can do. So I think that's been a pretty pleasant surprise so far.
Yeah, Rempe's a fun story. He's a guy that I remember watching with Seattle, and he'd come in here into Kamloops, and just a monstrous human being playing out there. And dominant in juniors, like, could take the puck away, would obviously scare any opponent away off the puck too. It's cool to see him kind of, figuring it out in the NHL, and like you said, moving past what, some called a gimmick, and kind of establishing himself as a bottom 6 player. What do you see as the biggest challenge for the Rangers moving forward?
Scoring goals at home.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty clear right now. Like, in all seriousness, I think adjusting to this north-south style that Mike Sullivan wants them to play, because the personnel, I think the Rangers' biggest issues in the past was that they had the talent that can come up and make big plays when needed, but they weren't really generating off the forecheck. They weren't really in your face, and they weren't very hard to play against. So they get the goal scoring, but the back and forth and inconsistency of the way they played was their problem. Now they're playing consistent, but they're not really getting the offense. So I think learning how to be a defensive-minded team, but also finding ways to, consistently attack your opponent offensively is this balance that right now they're struggling with. So they're going to have to learn how to generate more off the forecheck, and they're going to have to learn how to, when things are tough, just bear down and find a way to score an ugly one. Because right now nothing's going in at home, and I don't know why that is, but that's clearly the big problem right now.
Absolutely, it is. Jonny, seriously, thank you so much for joining me here for 20 minutes. What do you got cooking up with Daily Faceoff? You got anything coming out soon for the DFO New York?
Working on making an announcement, not sure when, but have a cool project in the works in regards to the Rangers. Can't officially say anything yet, but it seems like it's at the finish line. So
right on.
Yeah, should have some news in a couple weeks, but yeah, nothing really on the horizon. I mean, Minnesota and San Jose are in town next week, so I'll try to get some locker room interviews with guys like Boyum and maybe Macklin and Will Smith and Misa and those guys. But yeah, thank you, Colton. I appreciate it. You're the best.
Thank you so much to Jonny, one of the best in the business, for coming along for 20 minutes this morning, chatting about the New York Rangers and what's kind of going on there. Really appreciate Laz. He's one of my good buddies here in the space. So always got to give him some love. I really appreciate all of you tuning into today's episode. I see there's like 200 plus of you. If you guys ever want to see other content from us, we do WHL, like CHL stuff, NCAA hockey, lots of player interviews with former NHL players, current NHL players, etc. You can check us all out on YouTube at Game Day Tarps. That does it for me. Tomorrow we'll be back at 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern. We'll be joined by Russ Cohen from Sirius XM NHL and Liam Horobin from OilersNation.com. Both of them will be stopping by to talk about prospects and other things going on in the NHL world. So without further ado, we'll see you back here tomorrow, 12 o'clock Pacific, 3 o'clock Eastern, right here on GDT Live.
What's going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning into another video over here on the Game Day Tarps podcast and the Hockey Podcast Network. We've got so much more where this came from, so smash the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell, turn the notifications on so you never miss a beat. For myself and the rest of the guys over at Game Day Tarps, we thank you, and we'll see you next time.